I'm Rabbi Kavod Weider. Really happy to be with everybody this morning. And as some of you are aware, we are in the period of the Omer, the period between Passover and Shavuot, which is really likened to the Israelites' journey from Egypt when they left slavery to the experience of receiving God's presence and Torah at Mount Sinai. And the whole Omer period and the intention behind it, as it's developed throughout time, both in rabbinic texts and in mystical texts, is that the Israelites were not led directly to Mount Sinai. They were led in a circuitous route, because the statement really goes is that you can take the Israelites out of slavery, but you can't always take slavery out of the Israelites. And it's another way of really talking about for each one of us that as much as we might have the awareness of who we are and what the world is about and the kind of life we want to live, there are still patterns of thinking and behavior that keep us imprisoned, that don't allow us to embrace our fullest and deepest selves and connect and engage with the world in the fullest and deepest way. So just like the Israelites needed to not go directly, but go a roundabout way so that they could focus on their own inner purification, the Omer period for us is also about that same kind of inner purification. And each week we focus on a different aspect of ourselves, of the world that we want to bring attention to and focus on. And this week, we are in the week of Netzach. And Netzach has a few different meanings to it. It can mean victorious or victory, like to win, or to assert, or to dominate. There's that sense of being able to accomplish something with Netzach. Netzach also has a meaning that's connected to orchestrate or orchestration. Like a conductor is called a minatseach. So somebody who brings together the instruments, who establishes patterns out of all of the voices, who has a vision of what things need to sound like, and then brings that into being. And then a third meaning of Netzach, if those aren't enough, also means enduring, or like something that lasts. And it's in all of these different meanings together that I think we can really talk about Netzach as being about meaning and values. Meaning and values that are enduring, meaning and values that provide a direction out of the chaos that is in the world and all the things that compete for our attention, and meaning and values, which is ultimately what we seek to implement in our lives in very concrete ways. So that sense of being victorious, about implementation and assertion, creating pattern and meaning out of chaos from the orchestration, and doing that around those elements of what endures is all about Netzach. And so what you also notice is that we're making a shift in the tree of life, in these different divine qualities, that we're making a shift from a certain kind of perceiving of the world to a certain kind of acting in the world. So the first three midot that we focused on, Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet, were about kind of noticing and perceiving and being in touch with what we're experiencing. So where we just came from last week with Tiferet, I think the thing that talks about it beautifully is that William Blake quote, which is, to see infinity in a grain of sand and eternity in an hour. Right? The sense of being able to, within that which is limited and finite, to be able to perceive the infinite and the transcendent, right? It's not just a sunset that's beautiful. What makes a sunset beautiful is not just simply the phenomenon of the earth moving up and all the ways that the particular light hits us, but is really about how we feel something eternal, something transcendent that is experienced through that phenomenon that we call the sunset, that beauty, that's Tiferet. So that's that place of perceiving. But now with Netzach, we now start to say, okay, how do we begin to implement that sense of beauty, of balance, compassion into our lives? What do we actually do to make that happen? And this is where we are tapping into our values and to trying to live our values and impose our values into the world and into our lives. And that's not a bad thing, right? You can say like impose my values on. No, that's a necessary thing. That's what it means to try to bring God's presence into the world. And as we've entered this week of Netzach, the first piece of it was Chesed Shebenetzach. That was yesterday, and that was really being able to say Chesed is, if we remember back a few weeks ago, is that sense of existence just expressing itself, right? That kind of that kindness, that giving over of just pure life, pure existence for its own sake. And in some way, when we talk about Netzach, we're talking about values, we're saying that it's important on one level for us to be able to appreciate and create space for and try to implement the respect of all the different kinds of diversity of how existence shows up in the world. And that's Chesed Shebenetzach. But then we start to realize that, wait a second, not all expressions of existence are created equal, in that there are some expressions of existence that are destructive, that are not affirmative of life and being, right? There are certain values that are not enduring and not life affirming, right? We can look into the realm of Nazism, white supremacy, all of the ways that we see evil expressed in the world. And, we get into, we're not going to get too into this right now, but we get into this idea, Chesed Shebenetzach says free speech. Anybody should be able to say whatever they want to say, right? And there's a level of that is important, right? It's important to say we're not going to censor because there's something about a basic right of expression and existence that needs to take place. But now today we get into Gevura Shebenetzach that says, well, some speech is hateful, is destructive, is not affirming of life. And maybe there is some places where that kind of expression is, we need to say no. We need to say that value doesn't get to be expressed here. This is not a place for that. And so Gevura Shebenetzach, remember Gevura being about boundaries, says, okay, we're going to be a little bit more conscious and a little bit aware of what are the values that we want to express in our world, that we want to see around, and what are the places that we need to draw boundaries on. And this opens up so much discussion, right? And I don't want to get too heady about it because we know that there is a real problem with starting to say, everything that we're talking about with our Can We Talk program and being able to hear different values and different perspectives being expressed and creating that space, there is so much that's important about allowing all the diversity of values to be expressed. But Gevura Shebenetzach says, where do we draw the line? Where do you draw the line? Right? I think as we can, put it on Jews, one of the ways that we have made a decision to draw the line as far as our synagogue goes has to do with Israel, right? There are a variety of opinions within the Jewish community about Israel, what they should do, what they are doing, what they're not doing. And it's really important that from a chesed shebenetzach place, there is an opportunity for that kind of conversation. But when it comes to a perspective that does not affirm the existence of the state of Israel, sorry, boundary is drawn, because that's not part of the values that we are committed to and expressing in our synagogue. So that's where we kind of play in this idea of netzach, of the difference between chesed shebenetzach and gevura shebenetzach. All right, a lot of head stuff there. So let's take just a deep breath. And with the exhale, just let all that stuff and turning in the mind with some of these ideas, just let it go for a moment, because we're going to really just bring our attention to the present moment and how we practice gevura shebenetzach in our meditation. So again, another deep breath. Allow yourself to settle into your space. Let your body relax. And we'll start with a nigun, with the melody. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nai nai. Yai dai dai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nai nai. Yai dai dai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nai nai. Yai dai dai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yana nine 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 nine. Yana nine 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 nine. Yana nine 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 nine. So again, just become aware of your body in space, the contact between your bottom and the chair and the cushion, the distance between the bottom of your spine and the top of your head, the way that your arms hang out of your shoulders and the resting place of your hands, the length between your hips, the length of your legs and the tip of your toes, the contact of the bottom of your feet and the ground. Notice the air as it touches your face or places where your skin is exposed. Let your forehead be smooth, the muscles of your face relaxed. Become aware of the movement of breath as it enters your nostrils on the inhale, the way the body expands to make room for the in-breath. And follow the air out on the exhale, paying attention to all the sensations in the body that go along with the contraction of the body on the exhale. Staying present with another breath, making a decision to just be present with one full cycle of inhale and exhale, noticing all the body sensations that accompany each breath, the sounds that are present in the moment. And consider, what values am I expressing in this moment? What values do I want to express through the way I am within this moment? What is this meditation, this moment about for me? If it's about being present, why? If it's about feeling peace or stillness, why? What is the value behind that peace, that stillness, that presence? Is it truth? Are we committed to the value of truth in this moment? And if so, how do we be with what is here moment by moment? Is the value that we're expressing love, open-heartedness, embrace? And how do we be in this moment if we are expressing love? And for some of us, we may want to go deeper. What is it about love or truth that is important to us? For some of us, we may find that these are the qualities of the Holy One. Of the source of all creation. And our reason for being in this moment is to be in relationship with God. To open ourselves to the source of that creation, of this creation. When we let this moment and every moment be an intention to express enduring values, we are in the dimension of Netzach. So I'm going to be quiet for a period of time. And in addition to being present with breath, with body, with the divine symphony that all of this moment is expressing, the invitation is to stay connected to our reason for being in this moment, to the value that drive our attention in this moment. What are we expressing? What is most important? Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nai nai. Yai dai dai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yai yai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nananai nai nai nai. Yananai nai nai. Yai dai dai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yananai nai 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 nai. Yananai nai 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 nai. All right. So any comments or questions? Anything about living the reality of Netzach in our meditation, or about the idea or concept or practice? Kathy.
As you know, Walter Mondale passed away.
Yeah.
And I remember him, Rob actually met him personally because of helping in his political campaign. And I know he stood for social justice and wanting to help the poor and wanting to get out of Vietnam and all the things that were important to us then and still important to us politically as a family. And he was from Minnesota, where I just came back. And I just think about the circle behind you surrounding the Jewish star in your background and how things are circular, the energy of the world.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, hi, it's Maury.
Maury.
I was thinking a little bit more in a self-centered way, I guess. Although if I take the value of love, I think of love as a very all-encompassing value. And then I was taking it down to more self-centered was, let's say there's a battle going on in my family, which there is. And I was trying to learn how to draw a boundary around the battle. I think you were very helpful to me in that way, in the way that you talked, to draw a boundary around the battle and just have it be able to keep it in its place, even day in and day out, which, you know, what's happening. And then to have the love, which is really there. And, you know, be able to I don't know how to say it, to be able to move within that huge experience of love, but still go back to this battle, which is not yet resolved, but have it really have that nice little circle around it, that nice little, that's the part where I struggle, to be able to just really set it aside and have the love, the overarching love, be there and take over. Anyway, but this is, you know, more on my own, like I say, day-to-day kind of stuff.
Right. No, absolutely. And, you know, I as you're speaking, and I'm thinking about, you know, with whatever the drama is that's happening in your family, is Netzach becomes about how do I express love, that value that I care about? How do I enact that? How do I make that manifest in my family in the midst of the drama? And, you know, as we've kind of discussed of going through the previous midot is that even love, or let's just say chesed, has a lot of different shades to it, right? Sometimes chesed is about allowing and creating space for, and sometimes chesed and love is about saying no and drawing that boundary. But even if we do within the drama of your family draw the boundary of to say no, because you're doing it as an expression of chesed, of love, not necessarily out of anger or out of whatever it is, but it can be chesed, love for yourself, love for other people, whatever it is. The very fact that you are committed to expressing that love and you do it in concrete ways, that is netzach. So that is netzach. So, it's not that you just, it's not that in the family drama you sometimes express love in this way or don't express it in this way because of how you feel in the moment or wherever the wind kind of takes you in a kind of given day. That certainly can happen. But if you are really trying to live netzach in the situation, then what you're doing is you're intentionally saying, what can I do? How can I act, relate, or whatever that allows my values to be manifest in this family drama? Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And for me, it is exactly that, being able to set things aside.
Yeah.
And be in that larger feeling, which is so important. Well, Rabbi Kvod, can you say the word or spell it out? I'm having trouble.
Netzach in
Netzach.
Netzach in English, NETZACH. I'll put it in the chat here. And in Hebrew, Nun Tzadik Chet. So,
thank you.
Yeah. And this, again, this piece right here, like when you said, like knowing when to put things aside, when to engage things, this is also like, think about our, relationships with spouses or parents or children or any kind of given thing. Like when is kind of, are we more in touch with the values that we want to express in those relationships? And we say, this is small stuff. We're not going to get into this. This is not worth it, right? Like, and where are the things that really are worth it and do need to be dealt with and engaged? And it's really our values ultimately that are going to guide us in that question. Or we want our values to guide us in that question, not our own kind of emotional needs, in the moment.
Thank you.
Sherry.
Yeah, two things. Thing one, I wanted to thank you again for last week because I have been enjoying all week long wholes and parts.
Oh, nice.
The perspective is really lovely. And part of my practice is when I walk, I often pray while I'm walking, and then I get to the end of the prayer and I do like a cleansing breath and see, what do I see? What's different before I go on to the next part of my prayer. And that wholes and parts really kind of raised it to another level. So that was lovely. Today I was having trouble getting into what you were suggesting until and I'm not sure I got this, but at least it was meaningful to me. Do you know the song La Menatzeach? La Menatzeach Shir Mismo Ha'yu Ladonai Kol Haaretz. Do you know that?
I don't know that one, but it was that Psalm 19, maybe?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember the numbers of the Psalms. But when I put it in that context, organizing my life around a melody, and being able to see the wholes and parts in the melody. I found it to be very supportive and very encouraging, and just kind of a new perspective on how to deal with things. So thanks.
You're welcome. Well, and that's a beautiful, beautiful way to
Yeah.
talk about it, because when you say the song Lemenatseach, that really, it means to the conductor, right? David is saying to the conductor, to the orchestrator. And in a sense, if we're talking about that, really values, being able to live our values is being able to establish certain patterns around the chaos of life, being able to lift certain things up to say, this is important and this fits together this way. What a wonderful image of, or reality of a melody, to be what that is, because of what is a melody, right? It's taking sound, all the different possible notes, and creating a meaningful pattern around those sounds that express something that's enduring, right? Like the best melodies are the ones that stay with us, stay with our people, and stay all the way throughout time, because the pattern of notes connects into something transcendent. And so it's so appropriate and so great to frame it as a melody of that expression of Netzach.
I will keep working on it.
Yeah, me too.
Well, Sherry, I love that vision of you walking and praying and singing. That's great.
Yes. Dennis, did you have a thought?
I did. Actually, I had two. One is thank everybody who signed up so far to take a lead when Rabbi's on. I sent on the list, and you can see where you better hurry up and make your choices. It's getting filled up. So if you haven't signed up, please do. Remember, we're doing this together as a committee and a community so that we can maintain this meditation practice. So have a look and sign up, and we'll put you right on the list. That was number one. And number two is, Rabbi, is there a list of the topics for your meditation so far? Like, I mean, it was meditation 31, but it doesn't give the context of it. For example, if I wanted to find the Four Worlds meditation, how would I go about doing that? Is there?
Yes. So I'll just say I have been pretty spotty around the labeling of these videos. So what happens is, as they get streamed, and right now I think it's definitely streaming to Facebook, but there's a problem with YouTube. But as it gets streamed to YouTube, it just is labeled as like TBE live stream or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So I've been spotty in that there have been times where afterwards I've contacted our admin person who does it and says, please label it this way.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll see that there's some meditation that actually have a label or description and some that don't. So what it really, needs to, and I would just say, I would invite that, because there's no way I'm going to get to it before May 6th on the sabbatical, but definitely invite anybody, you or anybody else, to kind of go through those videos and give it, like, if you find one that's the Four Worlds meditation, because I know that there is one, then just label it as Four Worlds, and I can tell you where to send it. So that, I think how it would really look is if you sent an email to Daphna, our admin, and had the link to whatever the YouTube video is. So have the link, and then have the title that you want to be attributed to that, and just create a list like that. Then she'll go through and retitle all of them. Thank you. So before we close, I just want to let people know there are some people that are on our call here who are already signed up for our spiritual pilgrimage to Israel trip. It really looks like it's going to happen, folks, because Israel is just about ready to open up their tourism, and there's more than 75% of people that are vaccinated. There probably will be the first to receive herd immunity. And so we are going to have another May 2nd, Sunday morning, 10 a.m. We'll have another meeting with our tour guide and McCore, our organizer, to talk a little bit more. Again, we'll go over the itinerary briefly again, but talk more about kind of the logistics of that. We have about 14 people signed up, and our limit is 20. So if this is something that, if this once in a lifetime opportunity is something that you want to take advantage of, please sign up, because the other piece about this is I think we need at least 15 or 16 in order to make the trip happen. So if you're kind of thinking, I'll do it whenever, if we don't get the 16, then we may not be able to do it. So that's another piece about that. But again, look on the website. It's very exciting itinerary, spiritual pilgrimage to Israel. All right. Thank
Rabbi,
you.
what was the date of the
trip?
The orientation you just mentioned, May?
Sunday, May 2nd at 10 a.m. And it's on the website. If you go go to the Israel page, which I think it might be under Connect. It's just look on some of the tabs up there, and you go on there, and it will have the info about the trip and the info session. All right. Okay, everybody, have a beautiful day.
Thanks,
Have a lovely
everyone.
week, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you all.